morning. Welcome back to day 2 of the Geneseo Antique Engine and Tractor Association's Working Farm Show down here in Geneseo, Illinois, featuring Allis-Chalmers tractors. Apparently that's fiberglass. Should not have thumped that like that. We're sitting here next to one of the other big tractors we have here. This is another one of Matt's creations, or Matt's that he's got. He had the guy with the 7080 yesterday. He's got pretty much almost all the big tractors here today. A lot of them are his. This is a 4W220, so this is actually the 24th one made of the 175, and I'm pretty sure when there's only 175 tractors, every one of them is a little special. But 220 horsepower, that's how they were badged, back in the day on this one. But today we got all sorts of cool stuff to show you. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to actually go out plowing today, so that's going to be fun. I mean, I'm not going to be because, well, no one would trust me doing that. But we're going to get to see plowing today. So look forward to that. A whole lot more harvesting. We're going to do some more work in the bean field, as well as we're going to take an inside look at the sawmill. So stay tuned for that. We'll check out some more of the tractors we have around here, and we'll be back in just a little bit. All right, we're going to check out some more of these Allis's. This one's also owned by Matt. 7050 here, open station, maroon body, or maroon belly, excuse me. Next to another one of Matt's owned, 7030, also in that maroon paint scheme on the bottom. So when they started these off, they started off with the maroon, and then they eventually changed it over to the black because, let's be fair here, the maroon, the black looks a lot better. It's kind of it's an odd color concept. Let's just say that. Again, got a 190 XT here out of the Clerk Farms. We talked about on that 305, the 2 stacks, and we're going to walk down to those. We're going to talk a little more about that. Big 220 here, a D17, another 190 XT console control. Go back to their old school varieties here, a WD, another WD45, and then a WC over here. And how you can tell the difference in this era of a WD versus a WC is not only size, is notice the handbrakes. Because on a WC, remember, if you're going down a hill and it got knocked out of gear, you had the choice of either steering or stopping. You couldn't do both. Well, you could stop one side. The famous story, I was at a tractor show and a guy was talking about came out of gear going down a hill pulling a loaded wagon, and let's just say that didn't end well. So he figured out he had to steer or brake. So we're over here on the 305. We talked about that 8850. Was that the number? The one that's over there. It's also on my mat. Let's squeeze between these two. And they have the twin stacks. And why that is because they have 2 turbos. So what Allis did is, instead of trying to do one monster turbo on it to power this thing, they thought, we'll just take 2 smaller turbos and mount them, section them off. So you got your front manifold, back manifold, not connected at all, each individual turbo, which then that will then get hooked up to one. It's not like they have a split manifold. Walk around the other side. So they combine up to the intercooler up there. I believe so. But still kind of a cool deal. So they were twin turbo before, we were doing all that stuff in the Poland side, just to because you could run one smaller turbo, or 2 smaller turbos and one big one. So kind of a cool thing. We'll keep checking out some more Allis's and some more other tractors, and also quite the collection of garden tractors. Check it out. All right, folks, we're here in the Allis-Chalmers display still, and you might go, why do we have a Cockshot 40? That's not an Allis-Chalmers. Well, for those that know, it's the Buddha engine in this thing. This thing would have been originally in a Gleaner combine. That's why it's gray, but you see, there's your Allis-Chalmers logo. So it fits within the realm because, it's an Allis-Chalmers engine, but definitely some farmer ingenuity on putting this combination together. Speaking of farmer ingenuity, check this thing out. This is the ultra high crop, for when other high crops are a little too wimpy for you. The advantage is, it's the only tractor you could just stand up and do an oil change right there. Just pretty convenient to service. The hard part is going to be doing spark plugs. That is, you're going to need a ladder for that. And hand cranking it, not as big of a deal to break your thumb as it is to break your face. Because if that thing kicks back, it's right to the face. But definitely some cool engineering here. Got their big gear, and then kind of a homemade tensioner-ish. Talking to a kid of the somebody that or knows the guy that owns the tractor. And they said they don't run it yet because they're kind of afraid of those chains are going to break and bad things are afoot. But I think the plan is to eventually get it running. Now, while we're on oddball little tractors, I was over here talking to these Allis guys, and I said, what Allis is this? I said, I'm not an Allis guy. And he goes, well, it's not. And I go, what do you mean it's not? Well, again, come down to your tag here. See if you can see that. Modifications, engineered depot maintenance shop. So, Helms Brother Incorporated is the ones that did this. And I'll do some more research on it. Maybe you can do some research. Ask Google, they'll know. But what we've figured out so far is it's like a real short WD. So if a WD was too long for you, which is already a small tractor, you can get this little guy. It's like 2/3 size. So kind of a cool little piece. And while we're on our cool little piece things, check this out. This is a Rumley Dual. Now again, for those wondering, Rumley was involved in the start of all of the Allis-Chalmers stuff. This tractor, extremely unique, as we talk about some of these unique tractors. So you see here, it looks like a regular tractor, right? In that day, it wasn't weird to be sitting over your hitch. Most of the Minneapolis Moline guys, they're probably still sitting over hitches. But notice it's got the planetaries, but they're tilted forward. Well, this tractor, just like that Allis we saw in yesterday, and just like those Moline Universals, was designed, they called it a dual because you could do both. It came out in the 20s. And in the 20s, there's still a few people trying that, motor cultivator idea instead of a tractor, where you would have, you'd sit back here in this area, kind of where I'm standing, and then your implement would be in front of you. So what they would do is you would take off those, and they would tilt up all the way to get you a little more height, unbolt your seat. All the bracketry would come back, and then you put your stuff in the middle, then you could run it like that way. Obviously, the thought process really caught on, and all tractors are, oh, no, you're right, no. Did not quite catch on as well as Rumley thought they would, but it was a unique design in the day to have one tractor that could do it all. So again, we're checking out these Allises. We got another G over there. Let's see what's underneath that one. That is that's empty under there. Oh, nope, it's got the plow underneath it. You can actually see this has just got the one bottom. We have another one here to show that's technically a two bottom, but it's just one on each side. So you would go one side, you could turn around, pull that plow up, put the other side down, so then you could go back and forth plowing instead of turning around. Another little tidbit of Allis information we figured out, or I figured out, you guys all probably knew this, but something to keep your eyes open. See how that's cast rear end there? And then this one's stamped. Wartime? Not wartime. During World War II, cast steel was really hard to come up with, so they started doing stamped steel rear ends. So just something to think about. I'm sure Polars like this one because of how light it is. Just my thought. We're going to keep checking out some Allis. Geez, there's a couple. We will find them. We'll check out some more Allises and keep showing you stuff. No, folks, I did not zoom in. This is a 5/8 scale WD. Obviously, got a little bit of a different powertrain on it. A little single cylinder on it. But, I mean, just such a cool piece there. It's been in the parade the last 2 days if you watch that. I mean, he's even got the tin work all correct on how they would be set up. The operator controls, just like how a WD would be. Not many pieces on this thing are going to be home built. What I like what he did here is, see, he's got probably some kind of a, probably looks like maybe a Cub Cadet rear end under it. But then to make it look like the WD, he's just got those axle tubes up there for the hold the fenders up. A cool piece. Definitely a unique item here. Go around and check the other side out again. It's even got the water temp gauge, just like how the Allis has had it. But check that out. All sorts of cool lawnmowers here. Always a big supply of these guys that come out. We just watch them out in the field plowing away. Even this, do you have small projects? You need a small bulldozer. Perfect for the sandbox. Be the coolest Tonka toy in town. A little ripper on it. I don't know how well that'd pull it, but it would. And an Allis-Chalmers, a Mini, and then an Oliver. Pretty cool pieces there, as well as a bunch in the back. We're going to check a few more things out for the end of the show. Again, you guys got to check this out. Next year, it's Oddballs and Orphans. So, a bunch of weird tractors. We're excited about that. All right, we got this narrow front. Pretty rare to see this. At this era, at this point, pretty much narrow fronts were not the norm like they had been, so now it makes them extra cool, and they are. 190 XT Series 3 land handler. Pretty cool tractor here. There's some other narrow fronts. Obviously, this is more the traditional Allis-Chalmers narrow front. You can see the slight size difference, and then you got, after seeing this many Open Station 7000 series that we have here today, they're starting to grow on me. Luckily, my brother-in-law is building one. Got a little D12 down here, a little D10, the put in the back of your truck size, and then a 180 narrow front. Like I said, just Matt Pulmer, just bringing out all the cool stuff. As well as a D17, that's more commonly narrow front on those. Popular in the Poland world, good tires in the back of that. A couple WD-45s, and our big tractors over there. But yeah, you guys got to check this show out. Like I said, it's every second weekend after Labor Day. Make plans. Like I said, next year's Oddballs and Orphans. So you definitely want to check that one out. We're going to have some weird stuff here. We're actually going to do some shop visits over to Paul Sears' place to check it out. I got those 3 points back there. I'm going to go show you something else here real quick. The Allis-Chalmers G might have been the only 10 horsepower two-bottom plow or two-bottom tractor, only because there's only one bottom at a time. We showed that other one earlier today where they had just a single bottom on it, but this was also an option. This way you could plow back and forth one row at a time. It's kind of a weird purpose because if you have a big enough area that you want to be able to plow back and forth, you probably want something bigger than this tractor. So probably a pretty, like I said, they were a niche market, but again, in the growing suburban area where there's a lot of little homesteads with small acreage, they really fit that niche. They were a 10 horsepower, 4-cylinder, 1-liter engine. So the pistons are like, they say John Deere's are paint cans. These would be like thimbles flipping around in there. And again, your oil pressure was in a very convenient place when you sat facing that direction. I guess it went by the knock method. If it's a knocking, then don't worry, the motor's already done. Then we got another one over here on this side. And this has the a mower on it. This is another popular option. It's actually for sale. So another good use for them is kind of a big mower. Pretty handy for that, driving right over top. You can see right where you're mowing. Again, this one's got an alternator, aftermarket alternator. That's the size of the engine, so it should charge the battery, hopefully. We showed that one yesterday, and then next day we got just Allis's after Allis's after Allis's. So definitely the time to be an orange fan. We're going to go check out a couple other tractors while we're hanging out before we close things out. All right, we're inside our main hall where that giant tank of a 7080 has been residing, and we got some cool pieces in here. We got a 29 Allis-Chalmers 2035. Yes, that was before Allis's were orange. They were green. It's a decent sized block on that one. We also have, they made other things too. A late 50s Allis-Chalmers golf cart. Just guessing here, folks. This has got a much smaller engine than what's in that one. And then we got this 38A. Had a 5.25 bore and a 6.5-inch stroke, making 33 horsepower. Look at the size of the block on this thing. This one was restored in memory of Uncle Ernie Shank. Sorry. Been a long day, folks. Sorry, I can talk. And then we also have this little cool thing, the old tractor loader. Who needed a skid loader? That's what Alice said. This one's owned by Tom Cladwell. Supposedly there's only like 20 of these that were an Allis-Chalmers variety. I mean, he's got the Alice sticker on it. You know it's good. 4-cylinder powered. I don't know why they don't make that design anymore. It seems like a good idea. We'll take a closer look at the big A here. I mean, look at the size of that block. That is... We've seen these before. They literally... The ignition system goes through the split block there. It's that big. They don't want to try and run it up and over on that setup. But just slinging 4 big paint cans on this thing. We'll take you around, check out the operator controls on the A. Not too bad given the time period. You did only have, looks like that's the brake and then the hand clutch. You'll tell me online. Shifter over there. Hey, they at least at this point we're giving you the gauges to look at versus you go to this 2035, the little bit older generation, and we're a little more primitive over here. You have no need to. Your right hand better be turning because it's going to do nothing else because everything else is over here. Definitely a unique setup. We'll check out much similar size of engine. Again, it's got that same center casting hole there for your spark plug system. But pretty cool piece here, showing off inside. And then obviously we saw yesterday's video. You'll have to watch it there, but the 7080 just showing off. Pretty cool show. Like I said, if you're into Alice's, you missed your weekend. But again, next year, do not miss this show. Second weekend after Labor Day. And it's going to be oddballs and orphan tractors, so the weird stuff. We'll check out some more stuff here in just a minute. All right, folks, we're going to close things out a little different this year. I thought, we always talk about what was the feature, at the end of this year, but what's the feature for next year? And Paul Sears is here, and he is the feature director.
Searle.
Oh, my gosh. Paul, I apologize. Like 17 times this video, if I might say your name for anything, I'd definitely say Sears instead of Searle. I'm going to get it right by next year, though, I promise. Paul, you're the director for the Oddballs and Orphans next year, which is obviously what you are into. So what are we thinking? What are we looking at having here in 2025? What are you hoping to do? And talk a little bit about what next year's show is going to be.
Well, next year, politely call them lesser knowns, otherwise called the Orphans and Oddballs. Basically is any of the tractor lines that disappeared and got merged into the more major companies that we're all fairly familiar with. Mm-hmm. So by the 40s, a lot of the older tractor lines had disappeared. There were a few that were later on that had short runs, maybe of a few years, but never really achieved fame and glory. So next year is their year. And first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to resurrect a 100-year-old rivalry between the Rock Island Plow Company and the Moline Plow Company. And the reason I say that is because in 2019, we had the Moline Universal Reunion, and it was a grand success. We had a wonderful turnout, and people still talk about it. I'd like to invite all the Moline Universal folk back again. We'll have ours out here. But I'd like to make a challenge because they've tried to have a couple of reunions since, and it hasn't been well attended. I'd like to have the group out here. I'd like to have the people out here. So I happen to know of somebody that has about a dozen Rock Islands and Hiders that might end up here at the show. And I'd like to see the Moline guys match it.
Nice.
So I'm hoping to resurrect that old feud, all in good nature, of course. Um, and one of the displays that I'm working on, if we can swing it, will be a display of what was offered in the Quad Cities in 1918 for tractors.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's going to be the Moline Universal, the Rock Island Hider, and one other that we may have here.
Ooh.
It's not for certain, but there is something else that should be here. So that's one of the things that I'm working on. Of course, we also have to remember that, you know, there's a lot more to farming than just the tractors. So one of the things is the Quad Cities was the farm implement capital of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it wasn't just because of John Deere. It was because there were a lot of companies here in the 1800s that were building farm implements. And one of the things that I'm going to be working on is a display of sulky plows that were built in the Gilpin era. Because when Gilpin and John Deere put the Gilpin on the market, everybody had to copy it. And we saw an explosion of sulky plows from all the plow manufacturers that were in the area. Well, I happen to have found a few of them, and the response so far has been pretty positive about getting some live examples of some of these sulky plows here. But I have over 15 different sulky plows that were made in this general region. And there will be a display showing that, commemorating that. So we have a lot of things that I'm hoping people bring in. Gas engines, tractors, implements. If it's unusual and ag-related, bring it in.
Nice. I'm excited. Sounds like with all the stuff you're going to be bringing, Paul, so next week is when you're going to start bringing stuff to the grounds for next year.
Honestly, it'd be kind of nice to have a shed that we could just leave stuff in. But yeah, we're gonna have a busy September.
Yeah. Probably you will have from Labor Day on, you will have nothing else going on, probably except for being here and catching up on what you can.
Honestly, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a group of really good club members that have been here all week already. I know you're involved with that, getting here early and helping set up, helping out, making sure this is all, the show is as successful as it is. We had another great show this year. But yeah, I'm excited because it's all the stuff that you've seen pictures of, you probably never get a chance to see it in person, let alone all of it together. I mean, it's going to be stuff next to each other that the last time they were next to each other was when they were in competing dealerships, 100 years ago. So
yep.
I'm excited about that. And obviously you're going to have a great collection of Rock Islands and Hiders. You always bring some out to every show, but you're going to bring some to that. And hopefully our buddy Dave up in Minnesota gets a chance to get his done. I'm calling him out. See, I know he's going to watch the video, so I know he's going to have a chance.
Yep.
Come on up.
Hey, Dave's making progress.
Yeah.
He posted our YouTube video of his Hider D restoration. So yeah, I'm hoping he's going to have his down. I know of a couple other Hiders in Rock Islands that are in the process that hopefully will be down here. We've got a few that are in the process and hopefully will be down here.
Yeah.
Although every once in a while, I think we resemble a push-pull drag sale with some of the stuff we'll bring in. Because a lot of times it runs when we try and load it, and it doesn't necessarily run when we get here.
The bounces of the road do all sorts of headaches on these things.
Yes.
So, but yeah, well, Paul, I'm going to let you get going. You probably got a lot of stuff to do now. You got a big show day tomorrow. Obviously, our show still continues tomorrow. So if you're watching this Sunday morning, got nothing else going on, come on down. I'm going to tell you what, there's going to be a ton of stuff to get, ton of field work to do. So they're going to be out there doing it. We're going to have another parade. You've been in both days parades this year. You even had the
motor
cultivator came out today. I saw that coming down to the thing. I was like, oh man, they got her going. Pretty cool design. We've talked about this a couple years ago. We did a whole breakdown of these things, but just a cool piece that we're hopefully going to see more of next year. But Paul, good luck. We'll be in chats. I think we're going to make a plans to take a BIBSTER'S on the road trip down to your shop and talk more about 2025 as we get closer and really pump this up. So again, if you have friends with oddball stuff, orphan tractors, lesser knowns, the stuff that when you go to the show, you're like the only guy with that thing, and not all of our guys. I mean, we're on our own. Make sure to come out to Geneseo next year because it's going to be your show. It's your time to be the feature tractor. So,
Silver King, Altman Taylor, Rumley, any of you guys, come on out.
All right. Paul, thanks for your time. Have a good, fun rest of the show, and we'll see you getting ready for 2025 in about 3 minutes. All right, thanks. All right, folks, before we close things out, we've talked a couple times. We were talking with Matt about some of his projects, about Ron, and that this show was really put on. He was such a help in the show, and sadly, we lost Ron about a month ago. This is one of his tractors. So I just want to take a second and just they honor Ron with this, and obviously he was a part of helping there be that many Allis's out there, and a lot of them were out here just because of the connection they had with Ron. So we just kind of want to let the family know our thoughts and prayers are with them, and as they go through this time. But again, just want to just kind of show this tractor a little bit and show off one of his pride and joys that he worked so hard on. Such a big Allis guy and big supporter of the club all the years. Again, this is what we have for all these. This is one of Glenn Frank's tractors. We lost him this last year. It's 450. It's for Kevin Miller. And then this one was when R. McNeil donated this after he passed. His family donated this one to the club after he passed away. So all these are on our fall members this last year. On that slightly sad note, but that's going to wrap things up for the Antique Engine and Tractor Association show. Make sure to check out us next year, second weekend after Labor Day. It's a fun time. Make sure, just like I said, if you're watching this Sunday morning, we still got a show going on today. So come out, tons of cool stuff, tons of great vendors, tons of activities for the kids. Make sure to head out this year, not next year. And if you want to get more involved, try and become a member. It's a pretty cool thing to do if you're in the area and you want to get more involved in antique tractors and all that fun stuff. Anyway, for BIBSTER'S Repair Shop and all the stuff, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.